Hi, I'm really excited to bring this Christ Revealed interview to you. Let's go ahead and jump in. So, and this is a very recent find. So how long ago did you actually?
Last month.
Last month?
Yes.
Wow. So with what's right behind you, I see that we have a dig right behind you. What is in there?
In the dig, we have mainly what you see on the surface are walls from the Byzantine period. We believe from the Byzantine monastery that was here. And below it, we have layers of soil. Some of them are floods of the Jordan River. Probably Julius stopped to exist somewhere in the 3rd century AD, maybe because of floods. So it did not continue into the very late Roman period and not in the Byzantine period. But in the Byzantine period, someone, the Christian empire, someone identified the place as Bethsaida. They didn't know that Bethsaida is here because already covered with 2 meters of soil.
Right.
But the tradition and the suggestion was that this is the place of Bethsaida, and therefore, beginning of the 8th century, a pilgrim who visited the area wrote in his memories, his name is Willibard, and he said that after he left Capernaum, which is west from us, he went eastwards and he found at Bethsaida the church of Peter and Andrew.
Wow.
So I think we found the church. This is probably part of the buildings we see behind us. But deeper inside, which you can see from here because it's 2 meters deep, is the wall with the remains of the bathhouse.
So what do we have here?
This is the place where we found the remains of the bathhouse. We can go down carefully here.
Okay.
We are standing on a Byzantine period floor. That's 6th century floor.
Okay.
6th century walls. This is the floor from the Byzantine period. This is the wall from the Byzantine period. We dug below the floor. We took all the pavers from here, dug below the floor. And what you see here are layers.
Right.
Some of them are floods from the Jordan River, but they all yielded Roman period pottery, nothing later.
Right.
So therefore, it all happened in the Roman period. And down there, at the very bottom, you can see stones.
Yes.
These stones are a wall. In front of the wall, we have pieces of mosaic floor and the bricks. So these are the remains of the bathhouse, dated to the Roman period by the pottery and coins above it. So what we have to do now is open the entire area and to get a very large area dated to the Roman period in expectations to find more of the bathhouse and other elements. Everywhere you walk, there are ancient remains. Israel is the first place in the world for ancient sites per square kilometer. More than Egypt, more than Greece per square kilometer.
Wow.
This is a small country. But this is the Holy Land. Okay, everything you walk on this land, below it you have the remains of ancient periods. Holy Land for the Jews, Christians, whatever.
And you said that in Israel there's more artifacts per square.
Ancient sites.
Sites. Okay.
Israel is the first place in the world for ancient sites per square kilometer.
Wow.
Because the state is small.
Yes.
Okay. There are many more in Egypt, but the state is very large.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so we have the largest number of sites per square kilometer.
Wow, it really captures the imagination to seeing this. That's
amazing. Why it's good to be an archaeologist in Israel.
Yeah. You're used to digging archaeological sites from a different period. So what's the experience like when you started to find these things from the time of Jesus, kind of where one of 3 places people would have guessed it was, and these things start to unfold? What's the experience like for an archaeologist?
I dug already a site from the 1st century in Western Galilee, a well-known and important site that existed at the time of Jesus. As a matter of fact, it is 3 miles away from Nazareth. Its name is Yodfat or Jotapata. That's the place that fought against the Romans. The first battle between Jews and Romans was at Yodfat. It's the place where Josephus Flavius fell into the Roman hands. So I know the material of 1st century, but it was a very interesting experience for me to dig a site which is connected directly into Jesus' life, Jesus' movement, and the expectation of the world, of the Christian world, to find something from Jesus' time. That was a new experience for me.
Yes.
I'm an archaeologist. I am not dealing with religion at all. I'm not writing any articles on religion.
Right.
I write articles about Jewish synagogues and Christian churches. And the minute we we made this press release that maybe we have Julius Bethsaida. It was a tsunami. Really never happened to me. The world, the press in the world, the television, everyone, radios from the entire Christian world. Every day for a week, since our first press release on Sunday, for a week I had every day, I think like 20 calls from different places in the world, from Japan to Brazil, of journalists who are interested. And that's touching the nerves of the Christian world, which is a very interesting experience for me. People will ask me, so what do you think that there will be? Will you develop here a pilgrimage site? I said, I'm not a developer.
Yeah.
I'm an archaeologist. I'll find what I'll find. I'll analyze what I analyze. I will try to prove whether it is Bethsaida, Julius, or not. And then I leave it to the other developers, maybe it's the Israeli government or others.
So, but it's interesting because you approach this as a scientist, right? A very traditionally trained scientist to approach some place like this, but then it becomes a crossroad into, the religious world. And now you find as a scientist, you've got the religious world, really looking at you in a very enthusiastic way with anticipation. So does that change kind of the way that you work at all, or?
No.
No.
It did not,
Good.
And it will not.
Yeah.
I'm an archaeologist. I'm doing archaeology. I'm doing scientific archaeologist for the last 40 years. I excavated 4 pagan temples, 4 Jewish synagogues, 9 Byzantine churches. I'm digging the history, and I also surveyed a mosque. Okay, so I'm digging the history of this land. On this land lived pagans, Jews, Christians, and I'm digging the history of this country. Therefore, I'm not attached to any of the actual remains. I'm not attached to the walls as a religious object.
Right.
Okay, I'm digging it scientifically, trying to date it and give the scientific world on one side the evidence, and trying to give lay people the evidence in a different taste. Okay, they are not really interested if the rim of the pottery is like that or that. They want to know who lived there.
Yeah.
So if I found there a mikveh, a ritual bath, I said this is Jewish.
Mm-hmm.
If I found there a church, I said this is Byzantine,
Right.
Christian. Okay, so we are digging here a Jewish village from the first century. It was Jesus and Peter and Andrew and Philip, who are all Jews who lived there in the village,
Yes.
that developed into the Christian religion, let's say 100 years or something like that later. And now everyone is interested in this piece of land, which makes me very happy.
Yeah.
I'm very happy to do scientific excavations and share the historical information with the people around the world.
Why did you decide to become an archaeologist?
It's interesting, maybe even unusual, but since I was 14, I knew I'm going to be an archaeologist. There was nothing else I ever wanted to do, and even up till now, some years before my retirement from being a faculty member, okay, I think it first of all has to do with things I learned at home about my father was a journalist. So we were traveling a lot in the country. And he was one of the establisher of this state. He was in the Jewish undergrounds, again, the British. So it was always a mixture of closer past and far past.
Right.
And we were traveling from place to place, and everywhere I saw some piece of pottery and glass, and I started to pick it up. And I grew in a place in the city of Ramat Gan, near Tel Aviv, which was about less than a mile from a very ancient site. And I was walking there a lot, collecting pottery and flint and things like that. Made me very interesting. And the world in the 50s, late 50s and 60s, without television or websites or WhatsApp, was books.
Mm-hmm.
So I was reading a lot of books, and mainly historical books. And I think that my first dig I did when I was 15.
Wow.
And since then, I knew that's what I'm going to do when I grow up. And that's what I did.
Thanks so much for joining us for this interview, for taking this Christ Revealed journey with us. Remember, if you haven't already, subscribe. That way you'll get notified about all the new content that's coming down the road. Comment. People want to hear from you, and then maybe you'll encourage somebody else to make a comment. If you did like it so other people know that it's something good for them to watch. And finally, share this. Send links to other people that you know and care about. Cost you nothing but maybe a few seconds of your time, but it might have a massive impact on their life. Anyway, really excited to be able to share this information with you. Thanks for tuning in.